10 minutes can mean a lot for the city of Baltimore. More books for our children, more law enforcement efforts for our residents, more help for our less fortunate. How? Well, when you take the time, 10 minutes, to fill out your census form, you help the city ensure a complete count. And that means our city can get our share of federal money to help with all of these efforts and more. It's just 10 questions and 10 minutes of your time, and it will mean millions of dollars to our city. It's also completely confidential. The Census Bureau cannot and will not share your answers with anyone or any other government agency. Your answers will be kept safe by law. Just fill it out and send it in for the sake of your communities and your city. Please make sure you do everything possible to ensure that you are counted, and your family as well. It's in our hands, Baltimore.
The census is very important to us because we want to make sure that every person who lives in our community is counted for, because it'll bring in money to help us in our community.
The government has to calculate all these increases and how many people living in the country is very important. Them to plan anything, for the community and for the individuals.
I understand that the census is vitally important to Baltimore. I understand very well that $400 billion that they have to divvy out to all the communities in the country, and the numbers that we have to get an accurate count, because the numbers that the city gets will decide how much of that money, how much of the pot comes actually to Baltimore. It's really important that people in every community, fill those forms out.
I see the census as an opportunity for the government to take an assessment and account of the people in Baltimore, in the nation, to say we do and value you, and we want to make sure that you are able to fully participate in our democracy, and that we indeed care about you and what your interests and what your concerns and what your needs are.
Complete counting is important because we can find out the needs of our community, and we can go and reach out to our federal government those needs as well.
If we're going to get money to help those persons to get what they need, for their children, for themselves, then we need to know who you are and where you are. And we can't bring it to people if they're not there, and if they don't make themselves accountable, to receive the necessary helps in order to improve the community.
The census is important for Baltimore City because I think the city officials need to know who is living in the city and what are the demographics of the city. In that way, they will be able to plan better resources and programs for everybody in the city.
The complete count is important because the city loses millions and possibly billions of dollars every 10 years because we don't have an accurate count. For every person that's counted, there's an allocation of funds that's made by the federal government. So it's important that that filters down to the city.
Back in 2000, we only got 57% of the people counted, and we lost a lot of monies to the city during that time. Things like recreation started closing. We were losing resident people. We were losing counselors throughout the city. Schools started closing, and we need more teachers and better streets and things of that nature.
The census money that comes to Baltimore will determine how many schools we have. It will determine how many politicians, how many elected officials we'll have.
Libraries.
Hospitals.
Senior centers, early childhood development centers.
The different things that we need to upgrade in the communities, to bring in more revenue to do the things that we have put on hold till we could get more money.
There might be some programs that are already in place, but might not be fully funded, and that way they cannot reach out to the people that really need it. There might be other programs that are fully funded and that are not really what the community needs. So I think that the census will give us the opportunity to tell the story, to tell the truth, and that way the official will be able to revise if the funding is really allocated in the proper way.
People are reluctant to fill out the census forms out of a lot of rumor and speculation about themselves and how it's going to be used.
I think the main reason that Korean American who doesn't participate in this census is some language barrier, and some they don't want to reveal themselves as some illegally resident in this country.
Members of our community may be reluctant to fill the documentation for census because they are afraid that maybe will affect some of the immigration status that they hold. I think we should not be afraid of that because all the information is confidential. That department will not share information with other departments.
I think that some people in the Latino community are reluctant to fill out the forms because they are not aware of the benefits about the census. I think that most people know what a census is because in most of our countries we have something similar, but they might not be familiar with the information that goes there because perhaps they were not used to doing it or filling it out back home. So I think that it's basically two reasons. One could be a lack of information, lack of awareness of the benefits of the census, and also the ideas that they bring from back home about the census.
And I think the main thing that people have to understand is that that information is protected. The census takers, even when they come to your house and ask you questions, have to swear an oath for life, not just for the next year or the next 4 years, that none of that information can be divulged.
This information is confidential.
This is between the Census Bureau and yourself. No one else will ever see it.
The very services that they may need, to help them as citizens and for their families through your avoidance of taking the census, then you miss an opportunity for an enhancement for your life.
What I have and will be doing to make sure the census in my community is filled out, I will go door to door telling people, please fill it out.
We are working with the Census Bureau to promoting this census, so that we will get some bags, that reusable bags. With the Census Bureau and KAGRO of Maryland, we made bags. We will distribute to our customers, and we will promote the census. Plus, we will promote this reusable bag.
As publisher of 2 newspapers, over the last, since January, we've actually been running ads and also running stories about the importance of filling the form out.
As a school principal, I'm encouraging all of my family and my students to, stand up and be counted for, because you are important, that you're not disinherited, you're not disenfranchised, you are indeed somebody, you are an American citizen, and your responsibility as an American is to take advantage of the privilege that you have, and you must make yourself known.
Go ahead and fill it out. All they need is just the information of who and where you are, so that the appropriate resources can be brought to our community through our congresspersons and the senators. These persons need to have a good count so that they can, when it comes time to fight for what we need to undergird our community, they'll have the people, and they can say, well, these are the people that need to be served. And there are a lot of them. But if you don't make yourself accountable, then what happens is they cannot serve you as they need to.
We need everyone to be counted. Lottie-dottie, everybody, on the lease or off the lease.